And again, welcome to Nurses Against Violence Unite. And I have the lovely Jessica with us. I'm just getting it back on my screen. And we have a wonderful guest with us tonight. We are going to, would you like me to introduce you, sir?
Certainly.
We have Stephen Price that is on our webinar today, and we are going to talk with him. And I would like to know a little bit more about his story and what brings him on to share. And I welcome you to our webinar. So what is going on in Stephen's world?
Right now, I am dealing with the fallout from the nursing board.
Oh.
Yes.
So what happened?
About 2 years ago, I haven't been practicing for the last year. 2 years ago, I ended up in a couple of disciplinary situations. And from what happened, the first incident was involving physical contact with the patient when the patient wasn't where they were supposed to be. At the facility that I was working at, they allow nurses that are on peer-to-peer relationships to practice under the supervision of another RN. Well, this peer nurse had told a patient that he could go back into the secured area to speak with a staff member. And what he ended up doing was actually coming into the chart room. And, I was standing there, and I told him that he could talk to the staff member, but he could do it from the doorway. He could not be inside the room with the charts. And so it was a verbal altercation, nothing profane, nothing like you see on these YouTube videos, like that incident at McDonald's where the woman got hit with the blender. It was nothing like that. It was just verbal exchange back and forth. Basically, we each stood our ground. It got to the point where he had pushed me into the chart rack. And at that point, it was fight or flight.
Right.
At least I had enough presence of mind to say, hey, I'm not going to do anything to him. I'm just going to get out of here. And at that time, he was standing in the doorway his body was covering about halfway the door. So I start to go towards the bedroom, which is on the opposite side of the hallway. And as I was leaving, I leaned my left shoulder out the door so that I could lower my profile to get through so I wouldn't touch him, which I ended up brushing his shoulder inadvertently anyways. And he exaggerates it, and he says, "Did you see that? He threw his shoulder into me."
Oh my God.
And it just escalated from there. And then he's sitting there making threats against me, fearing for my safety. Meanwhile, the charge nurse, who had front row seats to this, watched the whole thing up until the point of contact. And after he claims that I had hit him and threw my shoulder into him like I was a hockey player, she did nothing about it. But the minute he said something about being hit by me, she goes and she runs to the DON. And then at that point, I'm switched off to another unit for the rest of the night. And, everything was all said and done. Everything was fine, the next day when I came back to work. Done and over with, no problem, like nothing happened. So, that was it. And then a few months later, I get I don't know, something happened. I was having a health issue and I wasn't feeling good. So I was sent home, and then I was ready to come back to work. And the day I was going to come back to work, which is when they told me that I was no longer employed there. So,
oh gosh,
everything's fine. And then I continue on with the plans that I had made for the summer. Get a new job, have no problems. I get a new job, and then after a little while, I started to have problems. What happened was, at the new job, they promised me that I wouldn't have to do any med passes because that's what they have ACMAs for, and they would always be on the floor. Yeah, that was lie number one.
oh gosh.
So, So at that point, I'm going through doing my med pass, just trying to go through, still not sure of how I'm doing things, still getting hang of some things, falling behind in other places.
So you weren't even like really trained on it sounds like.
No, I wasn't. I really wasn't trained. They do your 2 weeks and then they pass you off, and then, you're out. And then from day one, all I'm doing is med passes.
And probably trying to figure it out as you go, kind of thing.
Exactly. That's exactly how it was. And then, unfortunately, we did have a code one day, and I didn't know what to do. So I find the floor nurse, and she refuses to go because she's on her lunch break.
What? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, she was on her lunch break and she refused to go to a code on another unit.
I wish I could do that.
I wish I could take a break when I'm on the floor.
Well, she ended up getting fired.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Yeah. So for a while, we were without a unit nurse. And so the other LPN that was on the unit, she took over as charge. Well, then it comes to be my turn to be a charge nurse. Like, well, wait a minute. First of all, I haven't even been there 6 weeks. And then you have me become a charge nurse. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not familiar with these residents. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in an unfamiliar situation, and you want me to be in charge of this?
Oh, that infuriates me. It's like,
oh yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a recipe for disaster. And come to find out that I had let a resident off the unit who wasn't supposed to go because he was at risk. How was I supposed to know?
Right, you could barely keep your water. It sounds like.
Right, and I mean, for the nurses are responsible not only for the med passes, but also for feeding the residents as well. It's like, that's like, you're kidding me. There's no way.
No, it's like you need another set of hands.
Exactly. I mean, what is the point of having aides on the floor if all you're going to do is make the nurses feed the residents?
I would love to just feed the nurses and, I mean, feed the residents, not the nurses, but that would be good too, because I think nurses need to eat. But it's just, I would rather feed the patients than give meds,
Yeah. So long story short, what led up to my termination and eventual being reported to the board was there was a resident who had a finger stick of 27. I alerted the other LPN who was acting as charge. She contacted the house supervisor. House supervisor gave the charge instructions on what to do. The charge relayed those instructions to the ACMA. And the charge had told me that I can go ahead and continue on with my med pass.
Well, what's the ACMA? I'm sorry. What is?
Advanced Certified Medication Assistant.
Okay.
They are a CNA that has taken additional education in order to pass medications.
So basically, they assured you that they had it covered, that you could continue on with the other.
That I could continue with what I was doing, yes.
Okay.
But that's what led up to my termination, is because I didn't provide care to that resident and I continued with my med pass.
Okay, but weren't they taking care of the resident supposedly, or so you thought?
Yes, that's what I was told. But because of what I was told to do, those were the grounds for my termination.
This sounds like a horrible, and Sandy, you can interject if you want, but this is why I originally reached out to Steve, because he had contacted me and his story like broke my heart. And I feel like it's a classic case of somebody that doesn't have the experience yet, that's pushed out way ahead of their time because they are short-staffed or whatever the case may be. And who ends up getting in trouble? It's the nurse that they push to do things that they're not ready to do.
Right.
And it's scary, and it makes you think, like, you know, what could he have done differently, but what could he really have done differently? It was basically like he had no option other than, you want a job? Well, this is what you're expected to do, you know? And it bothers me. What do you think?
Well, I think it was a setup for failure to begin with. And a lot of people, that's the way it is. I mean, if you're a registered nurse, they think that, you should be able to pick up like that. In most cases you can, but every system is different, and it's not fair to the nurse and is setting them up for failure. And then what ends up doing it, the nurse starts to get frustrated, and then it continues. It's not necessarily it's more like an organizational thing. Like it's almost like we have to get nurses in as fast as we can, and get them working because we need to provide for the patients. But I'm just having a hard time trying to follow. So the CMAs, or the person that the CNAs, we'll just say CNAs, they were sitting around watching you pass meds and then not feeding the patients?
No, the CNAs, it was expected that the CNAs and the nurses both feed the patients at the same time. So the nurse has to do, so I had to do my med pass and then feed the residents. And then as soon as the residents are done, I start my evening pass.
I'm sorry, Steve, but the Board of Nursing is going to say that the medications need to be given an hour before or an hour after, unless those rules changed and they say that feeding is more important.
The thing is that, meds were being given during dinner time. Right. I mean, it was just
your priority. Your priority. Right?
Yes.
You were doing what you were supposed to do.
Right. And I would start the med pass almost immediately after coming on shift.
Right. I'm sure it's a heavy one.
And it would still continue on past the dinner hour.
Yeah.
I
believe you.
You probably had so many patients, so many meds to give.
Steve, was this an ALF, or what kind of facility is this? Like just a type. You don't have to say what the name is or anything like that. Just what kind of facility was this? Was this like a nursing home?
Yeah.
Okay, so nursing homes, they have roughly, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening or watching will agree with me that they have a minimum of about like I would say 100 pills, but like 10 pills each patient. Plus you got finger sticks, and you know you got your priorities that you have to take care of because they have to have something to eat and stuff like that. Now, if everybody was pitching in, now the nurses have to get their med pass done, and I understand if I'm not doing anything, I am definitely going to be feeding a patient. But that's kind of difficult to feed and pass your meds on top of that.
Exactly.
That to me is not a very good expectation that should be put upon a nurse that is trying.
Exactly.
And especially not knowing the system. And how long was this that you were on the floor passing the meds on this cart that you never, I mean, I know we're all supposed to know how to pass meds. Okay. I understand that. But as far as what is the time frame from when you were pushed onto the cart? Like, was it fairly new, but you had never been on the cart before? How much time, let me see if I can reword this. How long have you been working on the cart when this happened?
Let's see. I had been on the cart since day one.
Okay, so how long? Days?
So, I mean, my length of employment was 3 months.
Okay. And then
so I've been on that cart for every day for 3 months.
Okay. All right. So
the hard part that I'm having with this though is that he reported it to the charge nurse.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The instruction to continue the med pass.
Right, because that's the priority.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I don't think that it should have been, but that's what was pushed and portrayed onto him. So
yeah.
Why did the charge? I'm just confused. Why did the charge nurse not go in and maybe step up and call the physician,
feed a patient,
or give the snack or whatever
Yeah.
to get the sugar up? What was she doing?
Go ahead,
she
Sue,
was, she got the instructions from the house supervisor, and she it just followed the chain of command. When, from the reasoning from the nursing board is that it was my responsibility. It wasn't the charge nurse's responsibility.
Right.
It wasn't the CNA's responsibility. It was my responsibility.
Because even though you confided in them and they said they were going to help, ultimately they're saying it was your patient. Is what
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So
the patient was on my side of the hall. That's, everyone there was, those 15 residents were my responsibility.
But did anything
So
ill to the patient? Did anything bad happen to the patient?
Nothing happened negatively with the patient. The patient, even though he registered as 27,
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me that I needed to go back and retest him. Nobody told me I needed to go in and do an assessment on him. They just told me, they just said, give him crackers, give him some ice cream, give him some, give him some juice, bring up that blood sugar. They never, they told me that I could continue with the med pass. I asked them before I even went back to doing the meds, like, do I need to do anything else? And the charge had said that I'm good. I can go back to doing the med pass.
All right, so I get it now. Okay, so when I'm hearing the story, I apologize. I was put a little bit off course because I'm just trying to follow it in the way that my head thinks. Okay, so feeding the patient, we got that out of the way. We're talking about a diabetic that has a blood sugar of 27. Stephen, I'm sorry, how long have you been a nurse?
I first got my license in 2010. It took me 2 years to get my first job in a primary care office. Most of my experience has been in home care. I never had any facility experience. Never been in nursing homes before.
Right.
So what's happened here is that you're believing what this nurse is saying, and then she sets you up for failure ultimately at the patient's price.
Yes.
And that's a shame because the poor patient, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been beneficial for her to, be like, hey, let's work as a team and let's get another set of strips because maybe the strips are bad. Maybe something's wrong with the machine. Check the machine real quick. If the patient, was he symptomatic?
No, he wasn't. He was
Okay.
oriented.
Okay. So it might have been something wrong with the strips, right?
It could have been something wrong with the way I got his blood sugar, but nobody had told me to retest him.
Well, that's.
I feel like that. I feel bad for Steven, and I'll be honest. I feel like this is a case of somebody that wasn't trained appropriately. And I'll say, I remember what it's like to start a new job and to feel nervous as a nurse in a new facility. And you really need adequate training to not feel like you're stumbling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To feel safe in your own skin. And you're trying to trust people and you're trying to figure things out. And I mean, in my mind, I would think, especially as a new nurse in a new facility, that your charge nurse, somebody speaking to a superior, gives you a command like continue on, like we've got this covered, does set him up for failure. I mean, he basically relayed the information and felt like he was being told what to do and to continue on with his job, and then only to be reprimanded for it.
Right. It's sort of like, go do this. Oh, psych. No, don't do that. But yet you didn't do it. And I just told you to do it. But, it doesn't, it's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
Do you want me to do the cart? Because I'll be
giving pills to a million other patients that he's got on his thing, and get the meds passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I feel is awful for a lot of these nurses, is they don't even get time to do assessments. It's all about pushing the meds and pushing the cart. And by the time they get done pushing the meds and the cart and they get back around, it's almost time for the next round again.
Yep.
And
never
to lay
never
eyes
mind trying to do any treatments.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because that all falls right down on your lap as well, It's terrible.
So, ultimately, Steven, what happened with you at the Board of Nursing?
So, between these two employers, I was given a severe reprimand and assessed an administrative penalty of $500 per incident, and then ordered to take 3 education classes that come out of my own pocket. And I had 60 days from the time I received the letter of May of last year to come up with the money for the penalty. And if I had failed to do so, they were going to assess another administrative penalty of $500 for failing to do so.
For failing to pay the initial fine?
The initial penalty, the initial fine. If I failed to pay that after 60 days, they were going to hit me with another $500 fine.
Oh, that's very supportive.
Yeah, from what I heard, the Attorney General's afraid of the nursing board. I don't know how true it is or not, but
yeah, the nursing board, that's that's a whole nother subject. I'm so sorry. And I really appreciate you coming. I really appreciate you coming forward, because I'm sure there's a lot of people. We have a pretty big audience now. And, I
would say lesson learned from this is that staffing needs to be better. Nurses need to be trained appropriately. Nurses need to be trained longer. They not be thrown into the forefront when they're not ready to accomplish certain tasks. I think that other nurses and other superiors I mean, in my opinion, should have been held somewhat accountable too, but
Yes, because it's their responsibility. If they're your charge nurse, what were they doing?
Yeah,
If you have somebody,
unfortunately, I don't have access to the administrative documents. The investigative instruments. What the board had received from my previous employers and the nurses that they had interviewed, and to bring these charges against me, to make the board feel that these charges were founded.
mhm.
I mean, back to the incident with me having an altercation with the patient. If the charge nurse had just stood up and called my name and broke my attention from what I was doing, that whole incident could have been resolved right then and there. There would have been no physical contact.
I'll tell you something, Stephen, if a patient or somebody pinned me up against a chart rack, I don't know how I would have responded, to be honest with you.
mm-mm.
I don't know. I haven't been in that situation, and I don't know what my instinct would have told me to do. And it might have been exactly what you did, was to get out of where you were at, to get out of the situation. And
Yeah, but to have the RN just sit there in the office right next to, I mean, she was separated by a pane of glass, and the door to that office was open. All she had to do was get up, say something, interrupt that exchange,
or at least help out at least.
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Like-
at least break that.
Yeah. You shouldn't be
Just-
in this area, sir. Like, trying to help deflect the situation.
But she didn't. She didn't do anything until he said until he claimed that I had hit him.
Okay,
That's when she stepped into action.
So so this is a patient pinning you, not a coworker.
Right.
Right.
patient.
This is a problem. This is a huge problem because of the fact that, what exactly, Jessica, what do you do? Right.
Yeah.
Even these moves, these like,
Yourself in that situation. Somebody tells you, somebody comes into your house and they threaten you, you can do whatever you have to do to get the
Right.
situation. But if you're a nurse and you're acting as a nurse, God forbid that he, shoved him slightly to get out of harm's way,
right.
that was seen as something
Especially in a psychiatric facility
bad.
with
Right.
this therapeutic options.
Okay, so because I work in behavioral health and addiction. So there's this thing, I'm not going to name the name because they don't deserve as much credit as they get. But the thing is that even if you do like this, and then you're just trying to get them off of you going back like that is going to be it's probably the wrong move. So pardon me, but
That's an assault charge.
yeah, exactly. So what do you do? And your boss, and that's just even just accidentally doing like that. You're not necessarily going like that. This person just did a roundhouse kick, right? And then you're just and even if you move slightly, right, exactly. Or just why is it always the nurse's fault when somebody's physically attacking you? We were told to watch out for MMA fighters. They told us to do this kind of block with somebody kicking us in the head. Are you serious?
Right. And then
So-
he can't even try to get out of the situation. And because his shoulder hit his shoulder on his way out of being trapped against a chart rack,
Right.
that he injured a patient.
And it wasn't even a forceful act. It's like if you're walking through a crowded concert and you bump into somebody,
Right.
But he took it and he exaggerated it to where as if I was a hockey player and I had shoulder checked him.
Right.
Especially working in the field, and people are misconstrued when they think that they don't have any kind of psych patients that are on normal floors. They're just living in a daydream or something, because there's psych patients literally everywhere, and they're not really the problem. you have all kinds of behaviors. You got personality disorders that are out there that, sometimes they like to be evil and they, like to say things. It's not necessarily that they're addicts. And then you have your addicts that will do anything to get their, medication. And,
Right.
And that's a whole nother subject. But as far as, the patients that we're dealing with are not the patients of the 1950s. And that is where the Board of Nursing makes these curriculums that are not sufficient to be able to have like say if Jessica works in maternity and she's like, I want to teach, and she has to teach a program from A to Z. Do you think she knows anything about mental health? Absolutely not. Right? So she gets these frameworks and she's making her curriculum, whether it's passed down to her or not, it's probably not going to be sufficient because we never learned mental health adequately enough to be able to work with patients that are upset or having manipulative behaviors or, these behaviors where like this person sounds like that they were being overly dramatic and overly, they had something going on. And to have you put in that situation and the charge nurse to be able to not be able to step in and say, hey, what's going on? That would have startled the person,
Right.
And
right. And that would have broken up the exchange, and it would have,
or she's just so intimidated that she didn't know what to do. And that can happen too.
And that's a possibility as well.
So, and that's unfortunate because it all comes down to nurses not being prepared, as Jessica mentioned earlier, both of education and also when they get out of school and they get out of school either to get a job or they're a seasoned nurse, the employer should be training you adequately. And these programs that are out there are not realistic. Like we did 2 moves. Seriously, I'm not. And then in the book, there was like 5 or 6. Are you serious? And then they're like, oh, go home and practice. Okay, I could practice all I want, but
Right.
So really, there's really nothing out there. And I don't care what big fancy program that they try to pass off to you. This needs to be started all the way in nursing school, because if we need to start doing self-defense classes, you're going to see a lot more nurses getting out of nursing because we did not sign up for that.
Right.
We signed up to care for patients. We signed up to be, holistic and caring. We are not dealing with the public that is, susceptible, that is receiving our caring nature. They want to have lawsuits. They want to see what they can get out of you. They want to, and not all patients are like that. Not all patients are like that. So,
right. But unfortunately, we have to treat everybody as if they are.
I treat everybody the same way. I really don't have any issues. And I'm like, I know that it just takes a lot of time. How many years have you worked in psych?
I was there about just almost 1.5 years.
Okay. It takes a while. And you're never, you don't always have, people that act out like that, and so
Yeah.
it's not
Right.
like an ongoing thing, and you shouldn't have to go through that. Nobody should.
But the thing is, when that does happen, you should feel supported.
Right. Exactly.
By your administration, by your charge nurses, by the managers. You should feel supported and not put down that you didn't do it the right way. It needs to change. He didn't do anything wrong. He tried to just get out of a situation where he felt he was going to be harmed. I don't see it. I feel like it's a shame. I feel like the system let him down.
I believe so too.
And then back to the nursing home. I was so busy doing the med passes that they never really took the time to train me on doing any documentation and getting into the computer system and becoming familiar with the computer system so that I could go in and do documentation on such and such things, like with the incident with the blood sugar.
Right.
If I didn't know what I'm doing, how can I document something? Nobody told me I needed to document it.
Well, it's kind of.
Sandy, if I might be wrong here, but do you think that this situation is a little bit more prevalent in nursing homes or jobs that may be seen by nurses as not as, I don't want to say glamorized, but jobs that are not as many nurses want to do? Okay. Like, it's not like everybody's signing up to go to the nursing homes. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
their staffing is limited. their experience of the nurses that are there is limited. So it's already a setup for failure because you're in a job that isn't, a lot of nurses are not like in high demand, like, hey, pick me. Like I'll say in labor and delivery, there's a lot of nurses that come out of nursing school that want to go into labor and delivery.
Oh yeah.
It's like babies, something happy, like they're
You got
usually
the families.
applicants, right? But nursing homes, am I wrong or am I right with that, Stephen?
Well, taking in his background, I mean, I'm just listen, Steve, I'm looking at both sides, okay?
Yeah.
Please forgive me, okay? Because what I'm going to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I apologize, but you've been a nurse for 9 years. You've been mostly working in other fields. So if you're not trained, I understand. If you're not trained appropriately, I understand. Rechecking a blood sugar, that is something that we kind of know that we need to do. But if you're being told by the charge nurse that they'll do it, hey, I got it, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Then that should be on the incident report. As far as passing meds, it's different in every place. I understand, but we have to look at the whole picture. And, with the gentleman, I think that's that's a severe case. That's a problem, but I think that the blood sugar, I think, was the breaking point because
he already had other situations.
Yeah. And then, but 27, if the patient was not symptomatic, I would have just checked the blood sugar and, made sure I did the technique correctly because, that's important. And really, it's 27. I think the person would be in a coma.
Yeah, it could have been my error on that blood sugar, but nobody told me to recheck it. And I really wasn't sure what to do. When I went in for my interview with the board, I was able to tell them what I should have been able to do,
mm-hmm.
But that also.
But you didn't maliciously try to do something harmful to a patient. You honestly just felt like it was being covered by somebody else. And you know what? Somebody that's never, I'm just saying, somebody that's never dealt with maybe diabetic patients all the time.
Right, exactly. That's what I was saying.
27 was that critical? I don't know. I'm just saying, you don't know. And then you've got a charge nurse saying, like, blowing it off, like, okay, I got this. Keep on with the med pass. She should be disciplined. She should be disciplined. Ultimately, it is his patient. Yeah. She should be disciplined too. It was a horrible setup. The whole thing was just. Yeah. I believe that, nursing homes really don't have, they have, like he was mentioning, 15 patients. Seriously, really? Older people, and sometimes you get like the people from now they're putting people that are addicted and stuff like that are homeless, they're putting them in as TBAs, which are traumatic brain injuries, into nursing homes, right? So you have that population going into nursing homes. So these people might be all elderly, right? So they might be a higher acuity, but even though we have critical patients that are elderly. So it's really, nursing homes are tough. They're tough. And we have, I think you and I have talked to a couple people online or seen people that these LPNs, they have like 30 patients. I don't know how in the world they do that. You're literally on the cart. From experience, I have a very dear, best friend that just graduated nursing school and got her license officially. I'm going to say maybe now 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, that is awesome. But they already have her now in charge of everybody on the floor. Yes. And now she's orienting new nurses.
No.
Yes, absolutely. And
no.
She's doing it. She's my very dear friend that lives, I don't say.
Yeah.
But that's the expectation of her already. And she's told that she has to do it because there's nobody.
I'm sure it's probably at one of my favorite places too. And
it's a nursing home.
Nursing home. Yeah. It's really wide open. I have an idea. It's really wide open. Nursing homes are bad. And then you have, and they wonder why it's hard for people to get, to want to even work there. I mean, it's strenuous. I can't even, I feel like.
Not that, but then she's got patients that get skin breakdown or all this care, and they're expected to do all this documentation and reporting and things, along with all this pressure on top of them. And when I hear her describe her day, I want to crawl in a hole for her. So I feel for Stephen, I feel for anybody that's put in that over demanding situation, and it's awful. So Stephen, thank you so much. Like, honestly, for being on here, it means the world to me. Thank you for sharing your story. I've been, he knows I've been following him and checking on, seeing how things are going. So I thank you for your input and thoughts, sweetie.
All right, and I will send you both messages with links to the nursing board, so you can read the disciplinary actions for yourselves.
Sandy, I know, would be interested in looking at that. I've looked at something before, but Sandy, I know she'd know a lot better than she has all the doctor degrees and stuff.
I feel, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. I know it wasn't easy for you. It's because it just isn't easy. And I really appreciate it. It really means a lot.
I mean, I feel embarrassed to even be put in this kind of a situation.
We're human. We're all human, Stephen. We're human, and we're not perfect beings. And you didn't do anything malicious. You're not a horrible person. You were put in some situations that exerted yourself and stretched yourself too far, and maybe did things before you were ready, and crap happens, but it doesn't make you a bad person. You don't have to be embarrassed.
I have to touch on that. So literally nobody, and I'm saying this, and I will stand my ground. Nobody out there is perfect. Nobody that's a nurse is perfect. I've been in nursing for 29 years. Nobody's perfect. If you think you are, then you're going to end up killing somebody, unfortunately, and it's a dangerous nurse that thinks that they know it all and that they can just stomp on everybody else. So listen, I really appreciate it. I definitely want to hear and read this report, and I really appreciate you coming on. And for everybody out there, if you see him, tell him that, how you feel, and, we support you 110%, Steve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
You're welcome to stay on and listen, but we got some other stuff.
Okay. That's all right.
All right.
I'll stay on.
All right. We're going to mute you down a little bit. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
What we got now, girl?
All right. Well, so we have some new members, and we're not going to divulge them yet. I think I might divulge one of them right now. So we've had some change in leadership, and we have now a new president of Nurses Against Violence Unite. I just said it wrong. Nurses Against Violence Unite Incorporated. So without further ado, Jessica is the president of Nurses Against Violence Unite. I'm still the CEO, the founder, and I feel like Jessica is a good fit for this role. And we'll announce our other two awesome people when we can get all of us together. She's extremely talented and loved, and I think everybody, really likes her, and I hope everybody likes me. And
I find you amusing. I think that's good enough. You have a heart of gold, girl.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I wanted to announce that because I think that is a extremely awesome thing. So, and welcome.
Very happy. Thank you.
So we also have another announcement. Would you like to go ahead and make that announcement, my dear?
Sure. So I'm very happy and excited to tell everybody that we have joined teams with a very large group. Ooh, I like the lipstick, girl. Ooh, sassy.
I told you you would know.
Good on you. You need to wear that often. At least this isn't crooked like mine was one time. but
Oh, it
whatever.
probably is.
No, it looks good. So
Okay, all right.
we've courses with another large nursing group that is very excited and very animated and very supportive about our movement. And that group is Nurses with Cards. Yes. I have been, and Sandy has been in very close contact with Kelly England and also Andrew Charles, which are both administrators in Nurses with Cards. And they have linked and supported our group and are supportive of the Nurses Against Violence United movement in trying to bring awareness to all these unfortunate weak points and weak links that are happening in nursing currently, whether it be nurse on nurse violence, patient against nurse violence, lateral violence, administrative things that are not appropriate, pressure, bullying, doxing. I mean, it covers a large gamut of topics, and Nurses with Cards is an amazing group. They started back in April of this last year following Senator Maureen Walsh's statement. We all know the statement of that nurses probably are just playing cards all day. For that. Right. So the group is amazing. It was started out of nurses angry and frustrated in feeling that how could somebody say that about nurses, which is we are worked so hard and worked to the core and worked to the bone. How could they even, somebody in a political power even insinuate that we are just doing nothing all day? So there's so many passionate members in that group and so many people that have joined that group because they were animated and they were passionate about saying and supporting that is not nursing. That is not even close to what nursing is. So Nurses with Cards and all of their members, they're grouping with us and they are trying to get more and more people on board to help support the movement that none of this is okay. None of it is okay anymore and that it needs to stop. So I am super excited and I am beyond thankful, and Sandy is as well, that they have agreed to team up with us and help us spread the word and hopefully get a lot of support from everybody.
I wanted to also, and again, thank you, Kathy and Andrew. I haven't met Andrew yet.
Andrew's the other administrator, yes.
So what really got me into Nurses with Cards, and I really have always appreciated them allowing me to post in there and they've been so supportive since day one. And I've watched them grow up. And it's like oh, you're an adult now, and thank you for remembering.
I almost feel like the group has been around forever.
Yeah,
it really hasn't even been a year yet. And
that's crazy.
Seems, and they're such a large group, and you feel like they've always existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm very honored, and one of the things that I pulled from, I was pulling out some data about all the nurses, not saying Nurses with Cards, but nurses, Maureen or whatever her name is, got like 10,000 decks of cards. So roughly $10,000 worth of playing cards. I think they're like $1, and then sent to her office, and then thousands and thousands of minutes spent emailing and calling this poor lady, not really poor, but you know what I mean?
Right.
When we could put this energy with all this anger that we have, and then changing nursing.
Yeah.
And then this is when Nurses Against Violence took off.
Mm-hmm.
So
if
it wasn't,
funnel that energy and let's funnel that anger.
Yes.
Do something about it.
Yeah. So it's like, with all of this movement, it's like giving back to Nurses Against Violence. And I so appreciate it because we need it.
Yes.
We need it.
Everybody needs be supported more.
So I'm super excited. We have so many good things happening and popping in our group. I'll go over the poll numbers that we have. So this is about lateral violence, lateral and horizontal violence. I put another poll up. Now the other one's still active. So if people feel like going in and putting it, you can scroll in the announcements on both the page and the group. So right now, as of about 7 o'clock, it was 80% said that they have been, 81% said that they have been they've suffered lateral and horizontal violence. Sorry about that. And then 19% said no. So 81% yes, 19% no. 3,555 people have seen this poll, and 175 are the ones that responded. So we have a lot more that tells me on the reporting side, and this is like an anonymous reporting. So we have a lot more to do with trying to help nurses to feel more comfortable about reporting what's happening, because this right here shows that there's a huge problem on the floor. Also, I wanted to go over one more thing, and then we're going to be, we're going to talk about something briefly. I think we're running a little bit over. I want to show you something. Let's see if I actually have it up. Okay, hold on. All right, ready? Let's see. Where is my share screen? So we have something really cool happening here. You ready? Here we go. So this is going to be can you guys see this? Hopefully everyone can see this. This is going to be our Facebook frame. I just got this done for us, and then you'll either have the hand on one side or you'll have it on the other side. Hopefully everybody can see this. I don't know. Jessica, can you see this? So
yes, I can see it.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because you always have the computer snafu. So this is the hand, and then we got the little wave. So it's the wave of change. So I hope you guys like that, and hopefully everybody will put it on their profile picture when we have it loaded up, and I'll make that announcement. I think it's pretty cool. Wanted to thank everybody with great gratitude of everybody pulling together with our group. I just would like to have everybody keep in mind, please, that this is a professional organization that we have created, and to please try to be as bland as possible. We have another group that we were with, we have Nurses with Cards, and we also have Jessica, what is it? Nurses Cutting Loose, I believe. She'll tell me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got that one. So if you want to say whatever's on your mind, go in that group. But
yeah, there's a group for some cutting up, that's for sure.
I'm also a part of that group.
But Nurses Against Violence is not that page.
Yes, please do not post. I saw some pretty. I even messaged the person. I'm like, listen, it is kind of funny, but please don't put it on the page. So, just to go to a different page, and I listed Nurses Cutting Loose or Nurses with Cards. This is a professional organization again, and we need to respect everybody that's on it. If you find that there's anything that does not belong on there, that does not relate to nurse abuse, problems with horizontal or lateral violence. I'm sorry. Horizontal.
Sorry, Sandy, I've got to.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to have to tap out, but I will finish watching this here in a little bit. I've got my little ones that won't go to sleep, and my husband needs help.
No problem. Okay. Thank you. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'm almost done.
Bye.
Bye. So here's the thing. So it's a professional organization, and I forgot where I left off. Hold on. Let's see. Boosh, I need your help. I'm going to unmute you. Okay, maybe it's not going to work. Okay, I'm by myself. I'm solo. So pretty much, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so where did I leave off?
You were talking about being bland with our communication,
yes.
Taking it over to Nurses with Cards or the Nurses Cut Loose.
Yes, please. But to always be friendly and kind to everybody, because everybody's going through something, and it's just our page is a safe place, and nobody should be judged. People, this is a safe place. We also have a mentoring section when you're in the group itself, and the hashtag Nurses Against Violence Unite. Over to the left, you'll see the mentoring. So if you haven't signed up for to mentor somebody, see, and if you need a mentor, then, you know, of course, by all means, pick your choice. We have ER nurses, we have all kinds, supervisors. We have, I don't know if we have doctors yet, but doctors are always welcome. Even people that are in a different profession like CNAs, please sign up for the mentoring thing too, because you guys, you guys are the front line. We love you. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that I don't want to see anything that has to do with nurses hurting anybody on the page, because unfortunately that's basically where, there's a lot of nurses that are at that edge, or there's like, there's all kinds that make a profession bad, and we don't want that on the page. Anything that uplifts nurses, anything that is about, nurses getting victimized, I want that on the page. So if you see things and I don't see things, you can post it. That is fine. And anything that has to do with violence and making things better. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to Bouge, myself, Jessica, and all the moderators and administrators. We're here to help you. And if you have something that's on your mind and you need to reach out to somebody, as far as like you're going through a tough time, please make sure that you reach out to us, because you are not alone. And we really appreciate, being a part of your family. So thank you. And I'm going to end this webinar now, and it's going to be uploaded soon. We have moved locations for our webinars to YouTube, and then we are going to transfer them over to Facebook. They don't interlink very well at all. So thank you. Have a great night, and see you on the pages. Bye.
Thank you, Sandy. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Bye, Stephen.
Bye, Stephen.